those of you who were here last year you recalled a strategy that I was going to use for communications, which turned out to be a failed strategy. And I was going to start posting regular blogs and use that as kind of a routine way to get routine news out, and then save these events sort of for special issues or special topics. Well, you know, you think an English major could actually sit down at a keyboard and write a blog from time to time. It turns out I can't do that. It's just not my medium. So we're going to go back to this monthly format. This first one is mostly newsreel stuff, just sharing information with you. I do have, unless they sneak out, no, they're still here. We got the leadership team down here close to the front, and we'll save some time for questions at the end. So, that being said, let's get started. We've got some familiar faces in new roles starting out this year. One of them, Dr. Lemansky, is now our Executive Director and Chief Research Officer. This is Dr. Lemansky's first and enduring love, as I think many of you know. Those of you who have seen Dr. Lemansky's Vita know what an impressive career he has had in research, over $50 million in sponsored research that he has been associated with. So we talked and we decided this is the time to make the big push for research for the university. And I didn't give it to him. He kind of came up with it on his own, kind of a stretch goal of getting our research up to $10 million in research expenditures within the next 12 to 18 months. That is a stretch goal. It's an ambitious goal. He can't do it by himself, but he's there to help everyone who wants to contribute to the achievement of the university's research mission. Next, Dr. Arlene Horn, Vice Provost for Research and Dean of Graduate Studies. She and Dr. Lemansky will be working very closely together on the research aspect of the university. Dr. Horn will also be fulfilling the responsibility as a graduate dean. So she is moving into Dr. Headley's office and be working with the group down there. Incredibly important role, incredibly well-qualified individual. We were very lucky to recruit Dr. Horn. She, too, has been involved in many millions of dollars of sponsored research and is highly experienced and will really bring a depth of knowledge and skill to both of these positions. Next, we have a familiar face in a reprise role. Dr. Gary Peer is helping us out this year in the role of Interim Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs. He's got some nice things to say about us here. I wouldn't believe any of them because I've known the guy for a long time, and it's just not in his character to be nice to folks. But in any event, we're glad to have him here and enjoying all of his contributions to the university. Next, Mr. Noah Nelson. Noah joined us last year as and I can never remember his title, but it's a good sounding title because it has the word distinguished in it. It's something like distinguished professor, distinguished visiting professor of journalism. I need to write that down next to his name. Those of you who have not met Noah are missing something. He's sitting right down here in front, so I would suggest you introduce yourself on the way out when we're done. Noah is a graduate of old ET, lived in Whitley Hall, got his degree in journalism, went on to a career in the media, broadcast media in Dallas, and that was his launching pad to NBC News, where he was a national news correspondent for a number of years. So if his face looks familiar to you, it's because you've seen him on the news over the last couple of decades. He has recently gone into other aspects of media and production work, and we're so glad to have him back here. In addition to his role as visiting distinguished professor of journalism, Noah is serving as our interim director of media services and director of community engagement. The community engagement position is one that we had a few years ago, and it kind of lapsed. I kind of made the decision at that time that I would be the director of community engagement. Well, if you do it right, it takes a lot of time, and so Noah is really helping us get out in the community, both locally, regionally, and then our expanded service area. In fact, he was in Dallas this morning meeting with some of our partners there. So we're thrilled to have Noah on the team. Dr. Dale Funderburk, another familiar face in a temporary role, interim role, is the Dean of the College of Business and Entrepreneurship, a role that he has played before, and we're certainly relying on Dr. Funderburk for for wise and experienced leadership in the College of Business and Entrepreneurship. Lisa Martinez, our Interim Executive Director of Marketing Communications. Lisa is helping us out, well, in so many ways, marketing and communications obviously being the kernel of what she does. But if you have not worked with Lisa, Lisa is just a genius at social media, which is, as you know, that's the environment that our students live in, eat in, breathe in, swim in. I mean, that's the way they get information about themselves, about their world, and about each other. So she's really helping us build up our capabilities in that very important area. Next, Heidi Wright, a new role. Heidi was our Director of Training, and as of, I believe it was September 1st, maybe it was August 1st, is now our University Compliance Officer. Now, let me explain what that means. The compliance officer is not the one who enforces rules, okay? I know it kind of sounds that way. Heidi is the person who helps create a culture of accountability through education, reading it right off the page. She's the one that helps us review the various policies. We all have a role to play, not just in following rules, but in reviewing rules, in approving, in changing them when it becomes necessary. So Heidi is our point person for guiding us through that process. And we're very happy to have her in that role. Filling Heidi's old position, or previous position, I should say, in training and development, another familiar face, Tammy Thompson, now the training and development manager. Her goal, every employee will take a development class in FY 2013. Heidi, thank you, thank you. And she means that in the most cheerful way. I want to be sure that everyone understands that. Okay, so that's kind of a quick review of new faces, familiar faces in new roles, and we're so happy to have such a great team together to carry our university forward. Our nursing program. It seems like every time I get up and speak to you guys, I'm telling you about the nursing program, and it's just around the corner. Well, it's just around the corner, okay? I really mean it this time. We've really jumped some hurdles that, frankly, we've had difficulty with. We've been working on this. It's Brent Mangus, Dr. Barbara Tucker, our director of the nursing program, Cheryl McKenna, some of our new faculty. A lot of people have really put a lot of time and effort and blood and sweat and tears and passion into this project for more than 2 years. And nursing, I believe, may be one of the, if not the, most regulated, most difficult new programs to get initiated. It involves, basically you have to have the program ready to roll before they come and talk to you. So it's an expensive undertaking. You have to have the facilities in place, you have to have the faculty in place. You're dealing not with one, but multiple regulatory agencies. You've got the Board of Nursing, of course, the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, Texas A&M University System Board of Regents, as well as, in terms of clinical sites, additional jurisdictions involving hospital oversight. In any event, here are the recent milestones in the approval of the program. Last week, we leapt the very final hurdle with the Board of Nursing in Austin. It was a very gratifying event to be there, because this is a group that, when we first started this process, was not particularly encouraging or helpful, and basically said we don't really need another BSN program, and told us to spend our time on something more important. They weren't quite that blunt. They're nurses, after all. They're caregivers, right? So they made us feel good about it, but that was really the message. Then they gave us a shot and sent us home. But working closely with them, we developed relationships. They became much more supportive, and the proposal that Dr. Tucker led the creation of was commended as one of the best proposals that they had seen in some time. And in fact, they wanted to borrow it and use it as a model for programs who are seeking approval. In any event, so we received unanimous approval from the Board of Nursing last Thursday in Austin. The day after tomorrow in Austin, it's up for approval final approval by the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. It is on the consent agenda, and those of you who are familiar with parliamentary procedure, you put things on the consent agenda when you just want to pass them and don't need to talk about them. So the coordinating board usually has, I don't know, 15 or 20 what they consider non-controversial items that who could be against them. So we fully anticipate, I probably ought to knock on wood when I say this because I don't want to jinx it at this point. But the fact that we're on the consent calendar would suggest that this program is going to pass in the first 5 minutes of the meeting, and we will be in a position to admit our first cohort of students, 30 students, this coming January. So congratulations to everyone who made this milestone event in the university history. It is a whole new direction. This is our first venture into the health sciences, and we plan to build on this in the future. Next, quick review of some of the executive searches that we are conducting right now. Provost search will be headed by, the search committee will be headed by Dr. Darrell Harp in his position as President of the Faculty Senate. The advertisement will run through the first week in December, and we hope to make an offer in mid-March for someone who will start either the first of summer, June 1st, or the first of the fall semester next year. Athletic director, that search is now underway. Alicia Curran, Chief of Staff, and Eric Groover from the Honors College, and also our faculty athletic representative are leading the search committee. This one will be closing in early December, and we expect to make a hire in January, mid to late January. Both of these are national searches. Assistant VP, excuse me, and Dean for Campus Life and Student Development, Dr. Dobbs is chairing the search committee, Ricky Dobbs, and the position is now closed. They are reviewing finalists, and as you see, the target date for hire is November the 19th. Associate VP for Business and Administration, a position that became vacant when Alicia Curran moved over to the President's office, is in the finalist stage. We have interviewed 2 finalists with on-campus visits. One more, I'll be week after next, I believe. No, next week. Associate Provost, the position description is under review. That position will be posted in early to mid-November, and Dr. Pierre is leading that search. And Dean of the College of Business and Entrepreneurship, Dr. Dale Funderburk, as we said, is in that position currently in an interim role and has agreed to stay on for a second year to allow the new provost to be involved in the selection of that position. And by the way, this is all going to be posted on the website. I know I'm running through a lot of this stuff very quickly, but there's a lot been going on. Okay, in the area of facilities, isn't that a great picture? This is progress. Okay, this is a ditch with a pipe in it. This is what it takes for the next great building to go up. We did a lot of work this summer. We went over some of this at the fall assembly. University Drive and the BA parking lot have been resurfaced. Water lines have been replaced. Again, replacing water lines is not that sexy, but let me tell you, if you don't do it, you got problems. Ferguson Auditorium has been upgraded, and of course Cowling Hall came down, and a beautiful new parking lot has gone up in its place. The walking mall has been extended. The new outdoor amphitheater, which is now complete and is being used. Some of you may have been up here Saturday morning for the main event, and we had close to 1,000 students and prospective students and their family members on campus. And for the first time, we held the opening part of that program outdoors in the amphitheater. The weather was a little crisp, but it was a beautiful, clear fall morning. And let me tell you, looking out on that amphitheater and just seeing it full of people, it just looks great. So encourage your students, those of you who are involved in student organizations or other groups, encourage them to use this. That's what it's there for. You can check out sound equipment from the Student Center, and we really look for that to be a hub of activity. A couple of other things. You've seen our phase 2 of our residence hall going up there at the corner of Culver and the highway right next to Pride Rock. Our new, you've got a picture there of, this actually is a couple weeks old now because there's been more framing that's gone up on it since then. Equine Center is going up out on the farm. This is a beautiful new facility that will allow us to expand our equine program, and we hope recruit a whole new class of students who want to come here and want to bring their horses with them. Now they'll be able to do that. A couple of other things going on. I mentioned the residence hall. No, I guess I didn't. Yes, I did. 540 beds going up there right next to the new Pride Rock. Student Center is being expanded. And again, I went over some of this at the fall assembly. The Student Center is only 4 years old and is already about half the size that we really need for a campus that has a rapidly growing residence life population. So that project to expand primarily the dining area, but also will add conference and meeting rooms on the second floor, that will begin in the fall of 2013. It'll add 29,000 square feet and pretty much double the size of the dining facility, both in terms of seating as well as additional food options for students. So again, that'll be an exciting new addition to campus. Master planning process is just getting underway. In late summer, we had a planning meeting with the architects that are in charge of that, and the goal is to basically redo our master plan in order to have a vision for continued growth and development that will guide us for the next 15 years. The steering committee has been named. There will be multiple meetings and workshops conducted throughout the rest of the fall and into the spring semester. So please participate in those. I think that pretty much everyone on campus will have the opportunity to participate in one or more of these planning meetings. The architects are here to learn what our hopes, our dreams, and our aspirations are as a campus. It's a fun thing to do because you really can just sort of let your imagination run free with this. We will have the master plan completed by April and then to the Board of Regents for approval, I guess, at their August meeting. Texas A&M University-Commerce at Rockwall. Again, I believe I announced this at the fall assembly. Here's a picture of the building. Those of you who are from Rockwall or familiar with the Rockwall area, this is out in the technology park east of town, so it's on our side of Rockwall. Very easy to get to. If you kind of look closely, you can see the logo that we'll be using down at the lower left-hand picture of the corner of the slide. Basically, it's Texas A&M University-Commerce with at Rockwall off to the side. 25,000 square foot building, 25,550. Our contract begins on November 1st of this year, so just in a little less than a week. And at that point, we move in and we start doing the build-out. There will be 10 classrooms. Really, the building is just kind of a big open space now. It's being used or has been used as a call center. There's no or very few load-bearing walls inside, so it can be very easily remodeled to accommodate 10 classrooms, a computer lab, a library, and a student lounge. It'll be easily visible from Interstate 30 and easily accessible from Interstate 30. The programs right now, as you know, we're already in Rockwall, at the Rockwall Independent School District building. So basically the programs that we have been offering there will migrate over to this facility. Those are the MBA and the College of Education programs in curriculum and instruction, and then the supervision and elementary, supervision. And I'm having trouble reading my notes here. Anyway, it's a couple of doctoral programs. We also are looking at partnering with Collin College on kind of a degree completer program. Collin is interested in subleasing space from us, and they would come in and offer the first 2 years, and then we would come in and top it off with the last 2 years. So that's a very exciting and I think lucrative opportunity. This is a rapidly growing area. We're the only 4-year institution with a presence there, and when Collin moves in, they'll be the only 2-year institution with a presence there. So a lot of great things are going to come from that. SACS update, we're still moving along. The steering committee is meeting regularly. The letter for the underreported programs is, I believe, in final draft and ready to go out. We have the new curriculum approval and substantive change procedures, which have been reviewed and approved and submitted. We are working on, Dr. Hogan, I'm using the term we pretty generously here, but Dr. Hogan is really doing the heavy lifting on this, working on the faculty credentials form and the faculty database. This is not sexy stuff, but it's really, really important stuff that we get it right. The first drafts of the compliance reports from the committees are due in just about 3 weeks' time, so keep your eye on the clock. Another addition to campus, to the university, is our Faculty Center for Excellence. This is something that I think we've been talking about, forever, and have made, various runs at it from one direction or another. But partly, frankly, as a result of SACS, we decided this is the time to pull the plug, or maybe put the plug in, and make it happen. There will be a full-time director. There'll be faculty rotating from the colleges through there. And then, I won't read the slide to you, but it'll be located in the library and will be of service and support to the faculty. It is the faculty center. It's not the administration's gift to the faculty, okay? This is the faculty center. The faculty will run it, they will own it, they will design the programs that they want, and they'll get rid of the ones that they don't want. So that is in the process of development right now. We'll have more information, I'm sure, about the searches and so forth that are associated with that. Global programs. No presentation would be complete without a picture of Rock Clinton. So here he is. Dr. Clinton's role continues to expand. Basically, everything we're going to do, have been doing, or even are thinking about doing, will be consolidated in the office of Dr. Rock Clinton, the Associate VP for Global Programs. So study abroad, the Regents Scholars, the Honors College, anytime there's a student group, anytime there's a faculty-led program, we really need to consolidate all of that, and we're working on new review and approval processes. This can be an exciting, and has been, an innovative part of our mission, but it's something that if we don't watch carefully can get us into trouble. So Dr. Clinton is the one, he's the point person for all things international. Next couple of slides are just a quick review, actually the next 3 slides, and again, this will all be on the website, of our active programs on a global scale. As you know, our Eastern European and North African programs are winding down. We have, on the next slide, again, a list of locations where we send students, participate in faculty-led programs. A&M-Commerce is also involved in 3 international conferences just this year, 2 of which will be held here on our campus. One is the Summit in Global Learning with an emphasis on globalization and the arts and humanities, coming up in a couple of weeks here on campus. The other one that will take place here is jointly sponsored with a university in India, in New Delhi, and it will be the 14th International Conference on Globalization. We are also co-sponsoring the International Conference on Drugs and Addictions in Costa Rica. I think that's not in favor of drugs and addictions. I think it's managing drugs and addictions, but you never know. It's lost in translation. Legislative update. There's not a whole lot to report. Right? Well, there's plenty to report, but this is kind of in that odd and even time in the legislative process where things are coming together, but there's still no visible patterns emerging. I think the thing that I would report to you that is particularly relevant to us in higher education is the fact that Governor Perry has decided to make higher education a high priority of the coming session. Now, that's the good news. The bad news is Governor Perry has decided to make higher education a high priority in the coming legislative session. He was doing, or has been, I believe still is, doing kind of a road trip on his 4 points on higher education. I was at one of these a couple of weeks ago in Austin, and here they are. It's the $10,000 degree, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. Freezing tuition for 4 years for students who actually complete their education, their degree in 4 years. Outcomes-based funding, and increased fiscal transparency and accountability. Now, none of these is a brand new idea. The idea of freezing tuition is something that some universities are already doing. It's a way of encouraging timely completion. $10,000 degree, again, a little more on that in a moment. Outcomes-based funding basically ties some portion of a university's revenue stream to outputs rather than inputs. Right now, we get paid for filling seats. The idea would be to pay us for getting students out the door after 4 years. And it's a little more complicated than that, and I've got a chart to show you in just a second. First of all, the $10,000 degree, this is getting a ton of attention. A lot of universities, I think the last count, it was something like 10 or 11 public universities in the state have announced that they are offering a $10,000 degree. And this, as you know, was in response to Governor Perry's challenge from February 2011 in his State of the State address, and when he kind of pounded the table and said, it's time for, 2 chickens in every pot, 2 cars in every garage, and a $10,000 degree. Hope the room isn't bugged. And there was a lot of sneering, a lot of eye rolling, because, and frankly, you can't offer a degree the way we typically offer degrees here or elsewhere for $10,000. It can't be done. You can't hire the faculty, you can't build the buildings, you can't keep the lights on, you can't buy the computers, I mean, it's just, we're built on a whole different model. So how are these 10 or 11 universities doing it? Well, each one of them is doing it in a little bit different way. The way that we are doing it, Brent Mangus and some of the folks in the College of Education have been working on this. A lot of you are working on this. Brent is sort of the point person, but this involves a series of interlinked committees who all are pulling in the same direction, and we're running into some bumps along the way as we expected, because it's a whole new idea. The idea is that you award credit based not on seat time, 45 hours of listening to me over a 15-week period. If you can suffer through that, I'll give you 3 hours of credit, okay? That's sort of the existing model. But in place of that, let's find out what you know already, all right, competency-based. And if you basically know everything that I know, which is a pretty good bet, going into the semester, we'll just give you your credit now. There's no point in making you sit still for 15 weeks. If you know half as much as I know, we'll find ways for you to get that other half, and so forth. So it's kind of self-paced. It values and acknowledges and gives credit for existing prior knowledge, and you can do it for $10,000 if you know a lot, by the way. If you don't know much, it's going to take you a little bit longer. But our target audience for this is really not the 18-year-old graduate of Commerce High School or Heath or wherever. They'll be able to do it, but the target market really is that returning veteran, or I think Brent was using the example yesterday of someone who's been a pipeline welder for 20 years. Well, got a pretty good grasp of chemistry, okay, and gases and the way they behave. Or someone who has training as a draftsman, pretty good grasp of trigonometry, so basically this degree allows you to use all of that to your own advantage to earn a degree. And again, it doesn't match up with the way our universities are built, but we are in a very innovative position on this. We got a ton of work to go, but it's a very promising development. This next slide is the one that I mentioned that relates to outcomes-based funding. These are the 7 metrics. I'm not going to go through these, but this is what the governor has proposed. This is what the coordinating board is proposing as a response to the governor's call for outcomes-based funding. This has been on the legislative agenda for the last 2 sessions, and even though the law was passed, the rules and the metrics and the methodology have never been successful devised because it's really, really complicated. Anyway, these are the ones that are currently under consideration. A couple of quick announcements. Our email retention policy. You've been getting emails on this. Read them. This has the potential to change your life. Okay? I hope for the better. Right now, every email that you ever sent anybody, like want to go to lunch or, well, you know what you sent. I was going to use some scurrilous examples. You know what's out there on the server because you wrote them. They're all still out there on the server. They don't need to be out there on the server. Starting in next week, the end of this month, all messages older than 365 days old, 1 year, will be purged from the server. They will cease to exist. And then stair-stepping down, the end of November, we're going to go after anything older than 180 days. End of December, anything older than 120. And that's going to be the standard, that the university will retain email for 120 days and then purge it. You can save all of those valuable messages on your own hard drive if you wish. Okay? I don't encourage that either because I've been sued enough that it's all that stuff is discoverable. And when someone says, I want a copy of every email that you ever sent that has my name on it, it's hard. It's onerous, it's labor intensive, and it's unproductive. So there's no need to save stuff longer than the state retention policy requires it to be saved. But if you want to save it on your hard drive. At the end of this fall, nothing older than 120 days will be saved to the server. Also, in the area of technology, the old domain name goes away for good on October 31st. Again, this is something we've been updating you about regularly. So if you have any, that means you're all any addresses, any subscriptions you're on that use the old address, with the underline, the underscore, and the dash and all that, you're going to quit getting those emails on November 1st. I'm purposely not updating most of mine because I'm tired of receiving most of that junk. But if you want to get it, then you'll have to go to that provider and change it. The Royal Roar, some of you were at that. This was sort of the new version of our donor recognition banquet. For years, we've held it here on campus, and it's always been a nice event and an opportunity for us to say thank you to our donors. But this year, we really stepped it up a notch and had it at the Hilton Anatole, and it was tremendous. The Chancellor and Mrs. Sharp were in attendance. We recognized a number of individuals, 64 in fact, for their generosity. Atmos was the sponsor of the after party. There was a tremendous band. People who shouldn't have been out on the floor dancing were. I'll tell you, that was the embarrassing part. Some of that stuff that showed up on Facebook. We are, as you know, at the front end of homecoming, and which officially kicked off yesterday. Here's our new mascot. If you haven't met the new Lucky, go up and rub his head for good luck. And it's always a fun time. The pace sort of accelerates as the week moves on. Tomorrow is the Hot Dog Spirit Rally. Bonfire and fireworks Friday night, assuming I don't think we're going to have a burn ban. We may get rained out, but if so, we'll just move the bonfire inside. How would that be? And we can do it almost anywhere. Yeah. Maybe we ought to raffle one off, huh? Yeah. Our homecoming game is 2 o'clock on Saturday. We play Abilene Christian, so come out and show your support for the Lions, and then you have here a website that has complete information about all the homecoming events. Fall enrollment, I'm pretty sure I showed you this slide at the fall assembly, but I'm just sufficiently proud of your achievement as a university in enrolling our 12,000th student. And here she is. And she's one of those students who came here because she could bring her horse from the little town of Bogota, which is not Columbia. It's just actually over here in Delta County, I think. Our certified head count, the number of students we have and the number of students we can report is never the same. So after you take out all of the out-of-state online students and, purge the files and so forth, our preliminary certified head count is 11,753. That gives us about a 5.5% increase in head count and nearly a 9% increase in semester credit hour generation, which makes us, once again, one of the fastest growing universities in the state of Texas. So congratulations. Sometimes well, I get asked a lot of questions. Not all of them I can answer, but the one I like to answer is, what's making it work here? Why do people still want to come to Commerce, Texas to get their degree? I think there's a lot of reasons. I think it's the innovation, it's the great faculty, but I think the thing that we hear back from students that really distinguishes us from our competitors is that we really care for our students. And when I spoke at the main event on Saturday, that's a point that I stressed to the prospective students who were there and to their family members, their parents, their aunts and uncles and so forth, that when you come to A&M-Commerce, your professors know who you are. Now, if you don't want them to know who you are, you can go someplace else and we can give you a list. But what I told mainly the parents, I said, if your loved one can come to class for a couple of days, his professor or her professor is going to notice, and chances are they're going to get a phone call. And, you can see all the students kind of doing this, but, the parents were giving the thumbs up. And even though the university is the largest it's ever been, we've had now 3 years of record enrollment growth, we're still not too big to reach out and touch every student's life who comes through these doors. And believe me, when you talk to our alumni, and we have some alumni here in the room, and you'll meet some this week if you come to some of our homecoming events. That's what they remember as being what was special about this university. They don't remember the beautiful buildings, because frankly, for some of our older alumni, the buildings were not that beautiful when they were here. But they do remember the special experiences they had, the special people they met, and the care and encouragement and support and love that kept them going through to a successful completion of their degree. Well, that's a great brand to have. That's a great thing to be known for. I want to close with a quotation, one of my favorite quotations from Professor Mayo, and this one, you may have seen it. I've used it before. It's carved on his gravestone over here on the other side of campus. No industrious, ambitious youth shall be denied an education if I can prevent it. And that's still what we believe today. So thank you all for coming out this afternoon. And I think we have plenty of time for questions. I've got, as I said, the usual suspects down here if it's a question that I cannot answer, and I'm going to assume that I can't answer it, so fire away. Somebody left gum up here on the, never mind. Go ahead. Anybody have a question? I can't see you out there, so. Here's the microphone. Any questions for Dr. Peary? All right. Oh, we do have one. Okay.
With regards to reshaping our whole way of doing things from seat hours to competency based, being from the College of Education and the Department of Curriculum and Instruction, I am thinking to myself, how do I measure or assess whether or not a student has the competencies they need to be a good teacher? And I think that whole issue of measurement is at the core of kind of why it's difficult. Because the best thing, for instance, I can think of there is I need to go and watch them teach for a week or so. And then I'll have an idea. But, you know, just give them a test, or there are usual ways of assessing, I do not think are going to be sufficient, and we're going to have to think of it in a whole different light.
I couldn't agree. And that is a question I can't answer because I'm not an expert in that field. But I mean, you've absolutely hit the nail on the head on the key issue associated with competency-based learning. First of all, how do you determine what the competencies are, and then secondly, how do you measure them? And this is something that, as faculty members, at least of my generation, we don't really know much about. I mean, when we think of designing a degree program, we talk about designing curriculum. And when we talk about designing curriculum, we talk about content. And my area is English and more American literature. So when I'm teaching the survey of American literature, I decide which short stories of Mark Twain to put in and which ones to leave out, or Walt Whitman, or that kind of stuff. So I put a lot of time and care and attention and love into creating the content, and then I give them a test and see how much of it they remembered. How about if I ask the question rather than how much information can I sort of sail by you, if I ask the question, how much about American literature do you really know, and how can I tell? And sometimes you can do that with a test. Sometimes it may take what you're describing. It may take a week's worth of observation. I think that I was at a conference a couple of weeks ago in Austin, several weeks ago, I guess, and I was listening to a bunch of superintendents of school districts. And, they're kind of a testy bunch. They're a little grumpy. But they, one of the questions that, it wasn't a question, it was an assertion they were making, is that it had to do with getting good, competent, effective principals, particularly to lead high schools. And really the theme was, the principalship certification, and I know this is heresy because we do this here. A person can score real well on that test and be a disaster as a principal. So I think some of the traditional assessment methods we're using, we're very comfortable with, but they're really not very good. So if we drill down more deeply and say, well, let's actually talk about competency. How do you recognize it? That's going to take some wrestling. That's not an easy question to answer. So, but thanks for raising the issue. That's what all these committees are working on this year. Yes, sir.
Mr. President, I'm not aware of all the challenges that you face each and every day, but I've been very fortunate enough to serve as president of the Texas Council of Faculty Senates, which is 40 public colleges and universities throughout the state of Texas, and we meet twice a year. We sit around the room and we discuss issues facing our institutions and the challenges that we have. But I just personally want to thank you because A&M-Commerce is the only institution over the last 3 years that has received a merit increase, and I want to thank you for that.
Well, I want to thank all of you for that, because you all are the ones who made that happen. The incredible growth that we have experienced as a university, and it's been high quality growth, and it has been sustainable growth, but it has put some stresses and strains on sections and facilities and everything else. But that's the reason that we're able to do this. And so you all are the ones who deserve the congratulations. Thank you for making that happen. If I back away, is anyone going to notice?
Last chance.
Nothing from Mr. Brown? Don't we have a question about parking or something? The ducks, yeah. How about the ducks, Mr. Brown? No.
They're not university ducks.
Okay. Well, as questions come to you or that you want to address to me or any of us, please let me know. Just drop by, shoot me an email. I try to keep up with my email. I don't always do it every day, but I do answer every email eventually. So thanks again for coming out this afternoon, and have a great rest of the day.